human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. We are back with our special guest, Angie Dollar. She's been on before. She's definitely no stranger to the program. How are you doing today, Angie?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. So this whole BQH thing has just been really cool for me personally as a practitioner and stuff. And I've done some, I don't know, some really cool sessions with people. But you recently had a session, so I don't know anything about it. So let's, I guess, get right into it and find out what you found out.
Yeah, I had a session with Allison Coe, and it was really wonderful. I really want to applaud Candace for creating this BQH so that people can do this online, so they aren't stuck having to just do the QHHT in person, which I've done QHHT in person too. I've had that done also, but it just makes it to where we can connect, around the world, which is great. So,
Yeah, because some people just aren't anywhere near, a practitioner. So it really opens it up for people out in rural areas or just in a city where there's not a practitioner to be able to participate.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And I've actually done them just on the phone alone, like
Mhm.
where you can't even see the person. You just both have headbuds in and you just do it with just audio only. And that actually probably one of my best sessions happened that way.
Mhm.
So I would say that, with technology nowadays, there's really nothing stopping us.
Yeah, I had a client because I've been through the BQH training also, and I had a client who just said, "Well, I don't have a camera on my computer or whatever." I was a little nervous about not being able to see her, but then I've had other people where the camera went out, where something happened and we had to call each other back or whatever.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, she's a healer. She does SRT like I do. So I thought, I'm sure she'll be okay. She was fine.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be like this dreaded thing if it happens. But I found that, if you sort of go into it on the phone to begin with, phones are pretty dependable, like
Mhm.
way more than they used to be. You used to get a dropped call every now and then, and now it's like the internet's sort of like that. The signal might cut out or you might miss a word. And I've had it where I've had to have people repeat something because it kind of glitched a little bit. And, but it's no problem just to have them say it again or whatever. But I found that, I think with Allison Coe, she was the one that told me that she has a phone backup plan for if something happens. So she's like recording it through the internet, but like on the phone for the audio. So even if the internet goes out, she's still connected with audio over the phone or something
Yeah,
like that.
she had a really good system because she uses Zoom. Like I use Zoom with clients, and then some. If I'm just doing SRT, I just use the phone. But yeah, I'll use Zoom for the hypnotism or BQH people. But she had a nice audio thing where you actually call in on your phone line for the audio, and she said that's really reliable. She said just mute Zoom, don't accept the audio on it, and I got a really good recording. So.
Yeah, I'm glad she did that because when I've done the sessions in person with my wife and my daughter, I didn't really even look at them too much. I was just sort of I close my eyes and get in this meditative state, and I just listen to them
Mhm.
because I think using your intuition for sort of following along with what they're seeing and what to ask next is really important. So for me, like when I watch Alba Wyman or something, of course I'm watching the person, but when I'm actually doing the session, I close my eyes and once I'm done with the script or whatever, it's a lot of just intuition after that, and trying to picture what they're seeing and everything,
Mhm.
and then knowing where to go to next. And I think your higher self kind of comes in and helps. Both higher selves of, both the client and the practitioner work together in concert with us as down here on Earth or whatever, and it all works together well that way. So when I realized I don't really look at the person anyway, you know, I figured, well, why do I need a camera on them? They might even feel a little more comfortable if they don't feel self-conscious about, is he looking at me on the camera or whatever? You know what I mean?
Watching me crying because
Right.
yeah, I know what you mean. It's like we connect. It's like I felt like, she's connecting with me and her higher self and my higher self. We're all together. Whether you're doing hypnotism, BQH, the SRT, we're all like connected together, receiving questions from our higher self, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So what about information? Did you have any information that wasn't too personal that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I sent you some questions. I don't know if I can remember all those questions, but the big one that was really funny to me was that I said, "Are backdrop people real?" Because Dolores Cannon just seems so adamant that there are these people that are not real. And I watched one of her shows where she had a man on. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but he said, I never watch YouTube. I never read anybody else's stuff because I want to keep it clean and pure, whatever I'm channeling, something like that. And he said he was getting the same information, that there's these backdrop people, or what do you call them? Non-players. What's the other?
Yeah, NPCs, non-player characters, or I think Floor Brune calls them empty seaters, which I think is a funny name.
I have to remember that. I love that.
Empty seaters, and it almost sounds like NPC when you say it, empty
Yeah.
seaters. So
I gotta remember that. Yeah, so that was one of my questions. It was just kind of like an extra question, but I noticed that I get so annoyed by people, and my twin flame, you met Bryce. We could get so annoyed by just, I don't want to say the stupidity, but it's kind of like the ignorance of like, really? I'm just ordering a hamburger. Why is it so difficult for you? You know what I mean? It's like, it's simple. Or can't you just count my change back? I'm sorry I gave you cash, but you can't count
right.
because you're used to getting a card, like what is it, or you're driving. And so I said, are backdrop people real, And my higher self said, they are so not real, just like that, like really quick. They are so not real. That was the exact statement. And I was just blown
Well,
over.
that can go either way, though, I guess. So were they saying that everyone's real, or were they saying that
They're,
NPCs aren't real?
they were saying the backdrop people they're so not real. They're so not real.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so the idea of an NPC is real, but the NPCs themselves aren't real.
Right.
Okay,
They're not
okay, I was
real.
confused.
Yeah, they're so not real. So it kind of made me feel better in the world, going through my day.
Yeah.
And so what I was told was, I was told you brought some of them here with you to this planet to challenge you, and they're kind of learning some from you and you're learning some from them. And they're this challenge, they're just like this block that you have to learn through, and then they're just going to go away.
Yeah, and I think the slippery slope with that is that people will begin to think well, they're not real. I don't have to treat them right. But no, I think like they're the secret shoppers of life. You know what I mean? They're like there to trigger you, to bring things out about yourself, and it's like our job to still learn to love them through the ignorance, if you will. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I was told you're like their mother. Like you have to learn, you have to love them and treat them well. So, but yeah, I just want them to go away. But I can't recognize them. I thought you had said you could kind of see, and I think Dolores Cannon and that guy in that little video I saw, that they said they can see something in their eyes or something. I can't tell any difference between real or not real.
that's funny because who was it? I am channel Christopher. Gosh, his name slipped me. He just put out a video about that where he was showing these people's eyes and the similarity between them. But I think, like I just had on Gosha from Cosmic Agency, who gets information from the Pleiadians, and she was saying that the backdrop people, the NPCs, you have to treat them well because at any time a soul can enter into that person and take over, or vice versa. If someone is done with this life, their soul might exit that body. And I've seen that seem to happen with people that I know really close to me, that we were really close, and then I don't know if our ideas changed too much, but they just seemed to become hostile where they were never hostile towards any of my personal views, and it's like almost like that person went off. And I think of Angela, who came on, and she talked about people being taken away to healing domes, and we sort of imagined the person and their full body going away, but maybe they're like left on autopilot while their soul is taken away too. We just don't know how any of this really works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a session with Michelle Walling, And I just said, I need to find out that exact thing. I said, I feel like I've been going on autopilot for a few years, and I'm just waking up and I'm looking around like, oh my gosh, I got all this stuff to clean up in my life that I've just been on autopilot, just eat, sleep, kind of work, and
Yeah.
as soon as I started coming out of that, like my healing business really took off and started kind of getting more control of my life. But I'm like, what the heck? Because it was kind of like, it's like being depressed, but it wasn't depression. So it's hard to explain. Unless you're going through that, it's really hard to explain. It's like I really wasn't in my body. A lot of me was not there. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing with this whole process is that, any one of us could have been an NPC at one point if,
mhm.
like what you're saying is true. Maybe we needed healing, maybe we needed awaken, and we were taken away for a while. And I think of that movie Click, where he had the remote control. And remember he would fast forward it, but he wouldn't remember what happened while it was being fast forwarded. You have to like rewind it and say, what did I tell her? I told her I'd go to this thing with her? And,
Mhm.
and then he rewound it. And of course he's sitting at the dinner table and they're like, sure, I'll go with you, and he was like on autopilot
Yeah.
during those times. And I think, it could be like that. We just don't know, and it seems like that sometimes because I feel like I just woke up a couple of years ago and it was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I was supposed to be busy doing all this stuff and I've been asleep. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like I'm a little more confused waking up because I can like say to Allison or, the other lady, Lynn Benton did QHHT with me in person. And I'm like, I feel kind of crazy. And she's like, why do you feel crazy? I'm like, well, waking up, you feel crazy. Like I've lived on other planets. I don't feel like this is my home. And she's like, what's crazy about that? you know?
Yeah, a lot of us feel that way, that's for sure. I wanted to send out a Discord really fast because I totally forgot everyone. Okay, so the next question that you asked was, what can we do to move forward in life? And I think that's a great question that would,
Yeah,
apply to anybody.
that was really good. I got some good information that I think some people say it's kind of hard to do, but I was getting information like just believe that what you're waking up to is true and
Mm-hmm.
have confidence in yourself. Like if you're supposed to go do a healing business, because a lot of my clients are twin flames and a lot of my clients are really advanced souls. I think if we're waking up now and if we're wanting to do a healing business, do something like you're doing, or even just waking up now, maybe we're the more advanced ones because it's like we're waking up now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told just believe it. Believe you're an advanced soul. Believe you're worthy. Believe you deserve to have a better life. And I think a lot of us have been through some, really negative stuff in our lifetimes so that we could learn through a lot of stuff and then wake up and appreciate what we have. And it's like, oh, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of a great, beautiful life because of junk in the past. And I was told we're supposed to let go of all that. We're supposed to let go of all that and just open our arms to this beautiful life that we deserve and believe that it's coming soon. And I had asked a question about how can you bring the energy in, and it was just that it was believing, keeping yourself in the highest possible vibration, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means. Like you're going to do an SRT session, so whatever that means for you, meditating, doing healing,
Mm-hmm.
going, having some fun hobbies, having some fun, treating yourself well.
Yeah, I think like artwork we were talking about yesterday is a good way because you sort of get in that meditative state, and a lot of artists don't take that time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't take as much time to meditate, if you spend some time doing art and engaging that right brain, that creative side, I think it's very meditative and very therapeutic and gets your vibes high, because you're engaging that part of your brain. But one of the things to go back to what you were saying about doing what you feel like you should do is to trust that if you're living on purpose for your purpose of being here, everything else will fall into line. And I know, like, I've had some rough times financially that I wasn't as much worried about it. But sometimes when you're in relationships, other people are like, "What are you doing? This isn't even making money. What are you wasting your time?" And they don't really have that higher perspective that you have. But if you just trust the process, trust that, hey, I'm doing what I feel I should be doing, everything else will fall in line. It really has began to fall in place. And the other thing to back up what you were saying is I think a lot of times we feel unworthy of things. Like we're content with being poor maybe, or we're content with not having enough, or not even being able to eat like healthy because it costs more money to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, it's, I don't know, the system's set up for junk food to be the affordable way, and it's like some people are just so poor they can't even eat healthy, and all of that gets them down and gets your vibes down, you know. So to realize, to trust the process, and to realize that, you know, if you're wanting to move into something new, it will be provided for you, and just the trust that we've made it this far, right? So
Right.
yeah. So another question that you asked was, when will the event happen? I know this is a big question. Everybody
Yeah.
always wants to know. So.
Yeah, yeah, and I was told it's happening on an individual basis. Like we were saying, you've got to be open to it. You've got to be working on yourself, and you know, keeping yourself in the highest possible vibration to bring it in. But you know, what I was told is it's here. It's here. I was clearly told it's here now. You've got to like pull it in by keeping your vibration up. So, and I was getting that it's like coming down to certain people first so that we can pull it down to other people. Like if you're working as a healer, you're working on here, you know, broadcasting to people. It's coming to some people first so we can like pull it down to other people, help raise their vibration up so they can like move up to it. So,
That's exactly what I've been feeling too, is that it's already happening. I mean,
mm,
things like the Mandela effect. I think there's enough little things around to look at and say something clearly is changing. I mean, the color of the sun. There's so many little things that when you add it all together, you know, and you build this case for the fact that I think it's in full swing right now. And
mm,
I think these energies are pouring in, and it's like our job to sort of anchor it in and spread it out, and, you know, do things like what we're doing with your energy healing, or just getting on here and providing a place for people to come and hang out and, you know, fellowship with one another, with like-minded people, I think. And then our get-togethers, you know, like when we
mm.
got together in Austin, just having that fun of, I don't know if were you there when we all had the meditation bowls and we were all like
Oh,
little kids?
we left right before because I got a cousin in San Antonio that had a sick husband, and we were like, so we were kind of limited on our time. And then we were getting back here to see our kids on New Year's Eve.
uh,
So yeah, we were kind of rushing out, and I wanted to play with the bowls. We played with the bowls a little bit when we first got there.
we were all sitting around on the floor, and oh my gosh, I had this like little glimpse of being back in kindergarten when you can like just go grab a toy and sit on the
Yeah.
floor and play. And I didn't realize I hadn't felt like that since I was in kindergarten, just being able to sit around and just be a big kid. And it's not like we were trying to be organized with anything. We're like, oh, let me try that one out. Oh, cool. Let me see what that one sounds like. Oh, that one sounds like it's affecting the heart chakra. And, you know, we were just big kids. My wife looked over and she goes, oh my gosh, he's totally at home here. He normally does that all by himself over, you know, in the room or whatever. But to have like a group of people just playing like big kids, it was a real blast. And then we had the little drums out, and, you know, we put on some like meditation music with drums and stuff, and we were playing along with it. And like I said, it was really unstructured, but it was so fun and a
Mhm.
high vibe activity, just to, you know, for it to be unstructured that way. So it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, you remember we all had our little things
Yeah.
that
Yeah, she came around and said, "Can I put one of these on you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I think she said like, "Well, I would pick blue." It was either blue or green. I'm like, "Yeah, that's the color I would pick." And then she asked Bryce, and he's like, "No."
yeah, he said, I'll pass him the dot. But it was cool. It was like the heating and air guy had to come over, and it was like, you know, he actually said, he goes, you got to keep in mind, I'm in heating and air. I've seen a lot more crazy stuff than this. So. But
Yeah.
I'd forgot when I opened the door for him and I got this dot on my head. How strange it must have looked to him or whatever. I had a purple one. So.
It was a cool group. It was like we walked in, and I mean, I didn't think Bryce was going to go with me. He said, "Oh yeah, I'll go with you." And we walked in, and it was just a very nice, you know, energy, a nice laid back feeling, you know.
Yeah. I like Bryce a lot too. He
Yeah.
was a cool guy.
He's got into the aliens recently. We watched Above Majestic, and
Mm.
he was getting into that with me before then. And then we rented it on Netflix or whatever. And then he's like, "I wish I'd bought this."
Yeah.
So, but he got into it after Sedona because I bought books, you know, from some of the people there, and I came back and I was talking about it, and we're watching YouTube, and he's like, "Gosh, this stuff is so cool." So,
Yeah. He's got to check out Go For It Randy that we had on Monday night. He's got so many cool images that were real similar to the ones we saw at the event in Sedona with all these orbs everywhere. And
mhm,
Biker Babe just sent me these orb pictures. And something about that guest, people were saying that he activates people. Like,
mhm.
just, it's like if you're okay with him, then the orbs are okay with you. And people begin to take more pictures of him and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so next question on here that we want to go to is let's see. What is the energy I feel going through my body as I wake? Oh, do you wake with the vibrating?
Yeah, it's not vibrating though. It's a constant energy. Um, if I have a vibrating energy, it'll be like a presence that comes. One time I went to see the Hugging Saint in Dallas. You know who I'm talking about? The Hugging Saint. You'd have to look her up. She's pretty cool. She's more well known in India, but people go to her and you feel that beautiful, like I'll just call it godlike energy, But I went up on stage, like they'd call like 10 or 15 people up on stage, and as soon as I got on stage, like 25 feet or so from her, I could feel the energy, and I felt like crying, and it's like a vibrating, beautiful love going through you. And I turned it off. I thought, I'm not going to start crying before I go up there, and I was surprised at how I was able to block it. And it reminds me of my clients blocking healing. But I came home and I thought, gosh, I blocked that energy, but I felt it before, like when I felt Jesus. And
Yeah,
as soon as I walked in from my garage, then it's like I could see Jesus behind me, and I
yeah,
felt the energy go through me. And that's the vibration I would feel, like a loving, like I feel like I want to cry, just overwhelming love. But this energy that I feel at night is different. It's just like a constant energy in some center of my body, not necessarily even a chakra. It could be in my legs.
right.
But it's like usually I wake up with it. And what was it that I was
So
told?
it's less of a like a vibrating and more of like just a blissful, loving feeling. Would
Yeah,
you
it's
say?
it's just a bliss. It just feels good. It doesn't feel like a loving energy. It's like, oh, this just feels good. And it can be at any point in my body, but usually it feels like it's more of like a heart center area. But
Do you?
when it first started, it was in my entire body, where I'd wake up and I'm like, wow, I just feel really good, like I'm not moving. Because if I start getting up and moving around, it stops, you know.
Yeah.
So
Does it feel like you're doing something in like your sleep time in another realm, and you're sort of feeling the residual effects of coming back into this reality? Like maybe you were really blissed out somewhere, and you're just like a reverberation of what you were just experiencing in your sleep time.
I would think that it could be that. I was told that my body was upgrading, that my body's upgrading to like fifth dimensional energies, is what I was told. So,
During the BQH session.
yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
So I think if I'm gonna feel like that all the time through my whole body, I'd be like, man, I feel great. This is fine. This is fine. I don't need anything.
I've been experiencing more of that myself too. Like since just the beginning of this year, I think it was that just more of a like taking a deep breath and enjoying the blissful feeling. Just more of a, I guess, a higher vibe baseline. I would say than what was going on before. Okay, another question. Can you show me what my home planet looks like? That was one of the questions
Oh
we
my
got.
gosh. Yeah, that's the biggest question. Oh my gosh. Like, I didn't even know that was the biggest question because I gave her so many questions, and that was just on my list. Like, I spent a couple weeks planning those questions because since I had QHHT in person before, I thought, okay, I waited a couple months for her. When I got online to get on her schedule, it was put on that day. I didn't even know it was on that day. I just had a feeling, I'm going to check her schedule. And then the next day I told my friend about it, and it was backed up for a year. So it was like it was meant for me to see Allison, you know? So I only waited a couple months. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make this count. So I spent a couple weeks writing those questions, and I just added that one about a home planet. And I
Hmm.
told clients, I said, when I'm doing SRT for you, like I see a lot of visions for them, but I said, gosh, whenever people are on another planet, I never see their surroundings. I may see some of the action that's going on, and I hear a lot. I'm more clairaudient, and then I'll feel something, like I can feel some of their trauma or whatever. But I'm like, gosh, I don't see the surroundings. I want to see somebody's planet,
Yeah.
mine or somebody. So the day before, I have all these questions, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm in bed, but I'm totally awake. And I just was talking to my higher self, and I said, okay, if there's anything you want to show me beforehand, just to save time tomorrow, because they'll say, okay, I'll try to get to all your questions, but I don't know if I can, and we don't know how much your higher self's going to give out or whatever. And so sure enough, I see my home planet the day before.
Oh, wow.
before. And so I see it and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I never get to see like where I'm from. And so I'm standing there and I'm a different entity, of course. And then I'm looking at one other entity and nothing else really happened. I just got to, see this other entity with me and kind of look around a little bit. And then the next day, a lot of it had to do with my home planet, because it turned out that other entity I saw, and I'll have to look online, because a couple of times when I've been hypnotized before, I would have a really good vision of this other aspect of my high self that was like, or other aspect of me from another planet. And then I can go online and look up like Barbara Lamb's pictures. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the alien part of me.
Is she the one that does the images with Corey Good and stuff?
She does crop circles. I was going to tell you about that because I heard you and Michelle talking about crop circles. I don't know what else she does, but she has crop circle books.
Nice.
But yeah, so the next day I immediately went up to that other planet, and I found out that other being that I was looking at the day before is Bryce. It's my boyfriend. And so he was like guiding me. He was guiding me through a lot of my session before I went up to a higher aspect of my higher self. So that was really cool. So he was explaining things about the event and like things that we're going through now to get ready for the event and everything. I was like, oh, this is cool,
Yeah, very nice.
And he said that he wanted to come down here. I didn't want to come down here. He said, well, I'm going to go. I'll just be gone for a little while. It'd be like a snap of the fingers. I'll be back. And I was like, no, you won't really be here anymore. So I like followed him down here, apparently. So I should
So
get
you
no,
reluctantly went because he was
yeah,
coming here then?
yes. So I should get no credit of being a light worker or helping. I reluctantly, so I'm like, why isn't he the healer? Why isn't he doing this stuff? So yeah, I followed him down here, and he said, well, I'll still be here. And I'm like, no, really, you won't. And so like several days later, I thought, oh, I put two and two together. And I thought, listening to one of Allison Coe's other videos, I think she talked about someone being in stasis. Like
Yeah.
they would be in that planet and they would be in stasis. And I thought, oh, that's it. Like his body would be here and maybe he would be on automatic, like on click, or he would just be laying there like Snow White asleep.
Right.
And he wouldn't really be there. And so when I saw my home planet, it was pretty empty. Like one of her sessions, she talked about it was pretty empty. And I'm like, oh, that's why most of the people were leaving. And I'd just be there,
Yeah.
I'd be there waiting till whenever. So,
Well, another question you asked was, which kind of is part of this whole thing, would there be waves of people waking up, or are there waves of people waking up?
yeah, I was told that it wasn't really like waves. It's just like slowly, like we're at the beginning of it. So people are just waking at different times, that they're not waking all at once. So our perception in time, because we think there's still time is happening, is we're just seeing that we're at the beginning. We're like the way showers at the beginning of the waking up, and more people are coming behind us. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Because one thing I noticed was around the equinox, there seemed to be a higher, like if you were to look at it like kind of charted out, there would be people that sort of wake up to like the Mandela effect or things like that around the September or the March equinoxes, But still, I guess they're waking up all the time. But it did seem like there was what you would, I guess, term a wave. But yeah, I guess it's just a steady influx, and it probably alters or changes with the waves of energies too.
Right.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, it seems like if we all woke up at once, there'd be a lot of confusion. Everybody
Yeah.
would be confused and they'd be sleeping. Everybody'd be going vegan.
Yeah. Okay. When will ETs show themselves? Is
So,
this already happening for some people?
yeah, it's already happened for some people, but I was told like on a mass scale, like 3 years, like everybody would know within 3 years. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
What did Bryce think about that?
I haven't really talked to Bryce much about my session because he was in Hawaii. He comes home Friday, so he had a 3 week trip there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I almost flew out there, but he's going to be going on a longer trip soon, so I'm going to just wait and go then. So I really haven't given him any details. I guess he's going to learn when he watches this. He had told me, he said he would love to see like a sighting. So
Are you guys coming to ECETI in August? Are you going to try to make it out there, or do you think you can?
possibly so. That would be really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we're aiming for the beginning, but I think for a lot of people, that's going to be their first contact or
Mhm.
experience with knowing that they, because everybody gets to see something there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be
That's pretty
great.
cool. Okay. Can I get some information about awakening? Was your final question that you asked.
Yeah, so it was funny because and Allison was laughing about it. Because I think she asked it as like, what is awakening? I think that was how I wrote it out, and my higher self said it's what she's going through right now. It's what I'm going through right now. So that was pretty much it. Which I guess if people are awakening, they know what awakening is. So I'm just always questioning, well, what's the end of it? Like I'm awakening to being more than just a person who you grow up, you get married, you work a job that's kind of yuck, and then you die.
Yeah.
So we're waking up to like, hey, I deserve more than this. I can have more. How can I do something to make a difference in the world? How can I move to a higher vibration? And then it's like, well, okay, now what's next?
Yeah. One similar thing that I've noticed with a lot of people, including myself, is that before I really began waking up, because my life's been this journey for truth and understanding and all that, but um, a lot of times you can get caught up in the negative stuff and sort of get pulled down. You're like, everything's a lie, and just it really pulls you down. And I got to this point where I was just so down about everything. And I realized afterwards it was like my dark night of the soul, where everything just seemed so utterly meaningless. And one of the books in the Bible, Solomon talks about that. It was Ecclesiastes, I think, where he talks about life's so meaningless. You accumulate all this stuff, you just leave it to your kids, and there's nothing new, and all of this stuff. And it just, I was reading that at that time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I feel like. It's like, but afterwards, I started seeing things like the Mandela effect and all this other stuff, and things just shifted for me. Did you go through anything like that, what you would call a dark night of the soul period in your life?
I think I've gone through it a few times in the last 4 years. I kind of fell out of teaching because I taught for years and then I went back to it. And I think when I first fell out of it, I had been consistently like, you just get up, you go to work, you own a house, you know, I'm wanting to be a nice person and a good mother. I was just raising my daughter on my own. And then I suddenly had a summer where not my daughter, my sister had cancer for a couple of years and she was pretty young. She was only about 50 years old. And she died of cancer. And she went into remission and she said, oh, I'm in remission now. And at least for me, I knew she was still going to pass away. Like for some reason, I knew. And she did. So she died this one summer. And then I had to have surgery a few weeks later. And then I had to go back to, teaching. And then they said, you're going to move into a different teaching position like Monday. I was like, and it was just too much. I thought, I'm done. I can't do anymore. I just quit, which was crazy because I was like this stable person living in Houston for like exactly like 11 years. And I guess I thought after it was all over and I started looking at number synchronicities, I thought, I guess 11 is the magic number, because I would never do that. I'd be like, okay, I got to support my daughter. I'm single. I've got a house. I've got, stuff I have to pay and do. And I just walked out like, man, it was just too much. And so I think during those couple of years after that, I would go through a couple dark nights of the soul, but I was waking up to something more. I knew there was more to going to a job that I really, I love the kids, but I just really didn't like the bureaucratic system. I didn't like the way kids were being taught to the test and all this stuff. And I was like, man, I'm just done. This is the wrong way to do all of that. I'm done. So,
I think for a lot of people, they need something to kind of get them out of their comfort zone, though, to
mhm.
make that move. Because if you're too comfortable there, why would you leave that job and move on to what you're doing now? So in retrospect, you could see how, although it was a rough time for you, you sort of needed that to shake you up and move you into where. I mean, don't you feel like you're living more on purpose now, or
Oh
more for
yeah,
a
I'm,
purpose?
I'm I'm absolutely on purpose. I mean, I have clients and I'm like, I'm so happy. I can't believe it. It's like I know I'm on my path because I'm happy and I'm working and I'm getting money and I'm like, how's this is so crazy to me. Like the work was like a four-letter word to me, it's like a bad word. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I don't even want to call my job work. Like I'm okay with calling it job, but to say the word work has such a negative meaning to me. Like I can't even say it because it's like I'm having fun. Like I can go in between clients and go out and have lunch and I don't have 20 minutes like a teacher, you know. I
Yeah.
can take my time, go out with my daughter and have lunch, or I can go watch a movie and then have clients. Like one day I had clients till almost 10:30 at night because it was really busy right before the holidays. And I had like about a 4 hour break at one point. I'm just cooking dinner and I'm like, I didn't care I was going to be up till 10:30 at night with clients. I didn't care because I like my job.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, what do you do most out of? I know you do. You took the BQH course and you do the SRT energy healing. Is that the main thing that you do? Is the SRT?
Yeah, the SRT is the main thing. And I went back to Arizona just a few weeks after Sedona to take spiritual restructuring. And the same guy who created SRT created the spiritual restructuring. It's nice because we hold some stuff in our physical body, so it helps to release the stuff more out of your physical body.
So what does SRT stand for again?
Spiritual response therapy.
Oh, okay. When you said spiritual restructuring, I'm like, wait a minute, that's
That's
SR
that's
something.
that's by the same person who created SRT, spiritual restructuring. And you're gonna go have a session done tomorrow?
Yeah, with Tina, we met at our Tulsa get together that we had back
Mhm.
November the 11th last year. And so, yeah, I'm going to meet with her tomorrow for a session, and I'm really excited about it. So, what's the process like for anybody? Is it something that can be done online too, or does it have to be done in person? Or
Yeah, you can do it online. You can even do it on the phone. So the first lady I started going to was about 4 years ago, and I immediately started learning it from her because I was so blown away by it, how
hmm
amazing it is. But she does kinesiology too, which is like a hands-on body type thing. So that I mean, I don't know if you could do that remotely because she was doing a lot of body work on me, but then she would do the SRT, which yeah, you can do that remotely.
so, what's the SRT process like? I know you talked a little bit about it before because you did one for
Mhm.
Michelle Wolf, who was on yesterday. So, what's that like?
Yeah, you have charts. So Robert Detzler created it in the 80s,
hmm
and it spun off of a hypnotism book, and then two were they sociologists or somebody, this man and woman got a hold of it, and then introduced Robert Detzler to it. And Robert Detzler, I think, was like a unity pastor, I guess they'd be called.
Okay.
And I liked how it spun off from hypnotism because it seems very similar. It taps into your subconscious mind to release programming and dark energies, whatever's blocking you, holding you back.
So you have to use a lot of intuition and your higher self. It's similar to the BQH method, or
You don't really have to. You can use a pendulum. Yeah, and they do these charts. I could even like hold something up so somebody could kind of see the charts. Um, there's like 32 plus charts that are
hmm
used and they can just use their pendulum. But the interesting thing that Robert Detzler mentioned, the guy who created it, all these charts, yeah, all these charts that
oh,
this lady had emailed. You're not really supposed to email them, but so, but
so the
you'll,
pendulum, the way it swings, you see what it's sort of tie
Yeah,
in.
it swings. So people think of a pendulum as you can only get a yes, no answer, but you create all these charts. So it's like infinite amount of answers you can get, because you could even create your own charts. Um, One thing that I like about SRT is the biggest thing. I don't know if other modalities have this, but the practitioner or consultant, whatever she is, you make sure that you're very clear before you start. So she'll make sure that her ego's low. She'll make sure that she's clearly connected to her higher self. She'll make sure that, all of her guidance is at the highest level. All of your guidance is at the highest level. Clear off any negative energies that are floating around to start. So it's like everything is nice and clean and at the highest level before you even start working. So there's no interference.
Right, I can definitely see. And they brought that up in the BQH course, how your own worldviews can sort of interfere with this type of work, whether it's
Mhm.
BQH or this SRT, because if you have an idea of how things should be, that's the ego, I guess. And if you
Mhm.
think you know better, then maybe you're going to guide the session in a direction that it wouldn't have flowed naturally because you're wanting to keep things within your box. You know what I mean? So I think that's interesting to consider that really applies to any of this type of energy work, to
Mhm.
sort of step out of the way and be a facilitator rather than trying to control it too much. And that's what I've noticed with some of these miraculous things that's happened with the BQH sessions, is that I'm like, wow, this really has nothing to do with me. This is like, I'm like helping it a little bit. I'm like the
Mhm.
facilitator, I guess, if you will. But at the heart of it, it's not even me doing any of this stuff. It's like the higher selves of each person is
Mhm.
stepping in, and all of this, and the visualizations. You're just sort of helping the person along, but you really kind of step out of the way and use your intuition to help guide it along or whatever. But really, it flows in an amazing way, and people always seem, well, it's been my experience that people always seem to get what they need at the time,
Mhm.
which is amazing too. I mean, it might not be what their expectations were, but that's sort of another thing. It's the client's responsibility to let go of the expectations and really expect to get what they need at that time, because it might not be what they want. You might want to know about the event, but it might be something about your job or your lifestyle
Mhm.
or something that you need to change, and that's more important to you than knowing a specific date that something's going to happen or something along those lines.
Yeah, your higher self's going to show you what your higher self thinks you need. And I've done a lot of plant medicines.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
plant
done
medicines.
I've done a lot of plant medicines. Like I lost count at ceremony number 14 or 15. I just stopped counting. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I really honestly feel like the hypnotism or the BQH, you can get the same thing without having to ingest something and just wait for it to go through your system. Because at least with the hypnotism, the BQH, you can come out of it at any time. So, but I mean, even the plant medicines, I had some wonderful experiences. But like I said, I would recommend people do hypnotism or BQH instead. So,
Yeah, well, I actually did the shorter acting DMT, so it was only like 10 or 15 minutes. Actually, from start to finish, it was really only like a few intense minutes or whatever. And it was funny the same way with that. It was like each time I got what I needed at that time,
mhm.
completely different experiences. So it is strange that but yeah, I know a lot of people are like iffy about, like, well, I don't know about drinking this weird tea in
Yeah.
South America or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to do that. These are all tools to get you to that same place where you're getting the information you need to nudge you along on your journey of truth or whatever you're needing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. So did you actually go to South America, or I
Now,
guess you have to be careful about.
you can find places. I don't really want to say, but you can find
Right,
places.
right.
And it's funny, it's not, I mean, I don't think any legal regulation really care. It seems like they all know that it's going on. So, but yeah,
Yeah, and there's loopholes too, I
yeah. There's
find.
loopholes. You join the Native American community. I mean, I'm part Native American. You probably are too, right? You're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
I mean, I was born there. We're part Choctaw. So, um,
Yeah, I have not as near as much. I thought I was like a third Indian, and my sister just recently got one of those DNA tests, and we were only like 3% or something. I'm like, really? That's weird.
Yeah, my grandmother tried to sneak down and get on the rolls, and my mother said, no, they were telling her, no, you don't have enough high enough percentage to be on the rolls.
That would be nice, though, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm originally from St. Louis too, so
Mhm.
maybe it was like a fate that I moved back into this area, you know. Oh, good night, Nicola. Nicola, sorry.
I was
That was
going to
your name.
ask you what you think about Doreen Virtue. What do you think about, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so she was like, from what I understand, she was someone that was a little more open-minded, but now she's sort of gone to the religious route. But she's wrote all these books. And matter of fact, Ruth at the Tulsa Get Together just gave me one of those number books, angel number books, by her, and we were kind of talking about her. So yeah, I've seen a lot of videos about her, but since I didn't know her before her transformation, I didn't really watch them because you know everything I've gotten is hearsay. But I don't know. What do you think that somebody could?
You know, it was really odd that I've been cleaning stuff out of my house, like getting rid of books and just a bunch of stuff, you know, clutter, because I don't want to turn into my dad and my grandmother, all this stuff, clutter and stuff, you know. But
Hmm.
but I ran across one of her books on angels and ascended masters, and I thought, you know, for the SRT, like I just go to source. I go to my higher self and source, and the client's higher self, and so then, like a day or two later, I saw this stuff with Doreen Virtue, like her renouncing all these books she had written about angels and everything. And I saw a really funny short YouTube by Greg Prescott, you know,
Hmm.
Michelle Walling's like, and he has these birds on there. It's just really funny. But the birds are saying, "What the beep?" It's just really funny. But I thought this is great because she's got a ton of followers. She's got, I don't know how many books out there. I think she has a PhD and a master's degree, and so she's got all these people respecting her, you know, her knowledge about angels and ascended masters and everything. Now she's renouncing it all and renouncing the tarot cards or whatever, saying it's all bad and something about hell, going to hell or something crazy. And I thought this is great because she's one of these people helping blow apart the truth, you know, and because we know that what she's saying is it's not true. I mean, we're not going to go to hell for, you know, being like this, for going and doing spiritual response therapy and channeling, because you're channeling healing. She would say that's bad, according to what she's writing on her website. Channeling is bad now. So she's got all this through Z list on all these things that are bad now. And I thought, wow, I'm so happy. It's just going to blow apart the truth more. You know, I love people like this.
Yeah, and that's funny because that's one of those things that shake people up. People will come across the information in a way that they would have never done it before. So now they'll look into her, they'll hear what she's saying, they'll be in agreement with her personal views, and like, well, what was she into before? And then they'll go and start researching some of the books she's written, and then have a response, and it will actually move them the other direction into
Mhm.
being more of understanding of being more open-minded and stuff like that. So I see everything working for good in the end, even though on the surface it might look like a bad thing, like a
Mhm.
closed-minded thing. I just had a recent guest that I had watched an old video, and they were really open-minded, and now they seem more closed-minded like this too. And people are just constantly moving in each direction, and and it was funny because they actually had a video about belief systems like hindering your growth and stuff, but then
Mhm.
like they've kind of done a 360 on it, or 180, sorry. The 360 is a full circle, but yeah, 180 on their views on beliefs holding us back or whatever. But an amazing person though at the same time. So I think I just let people ride out on their journey where they are, and I see how things all work together for good in the end anyway.
Yeah, I think it's forcing people to look inside themselves. They're going to be like, wait a minute, I bought her books. I believed in what she's saying. Now she's saying this. Like, what do I believe now? You believe what's right inside yourself. That's what you believe.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's been one of the things with me is like, I've often said if you took like a 20-year-old me, 30-year-old me, and 40-year-old me, and like you could actually have a debate between how much their worldview had changed in like the 10-year increments of me personally. And that's just me.
Right.
So anybody that watches an old video, they might disagree with what I said back then, but it might not be my views currently anymore.
Right.
And it would be a lot of work to go back and sort of try to dissect things because I'm just trying to figure things out. And I think it's that forward momentum it's that growth that's really important. That's what I sort of got from that book, The Infinite Helix, from her name's slipping my mind right now, Magenta Pixie.
Yeah.
It's really about that momentum and that growth, that you're constantly progressing. And that's sort of the danger I see with religion, is a lot of people feel like, oh, I've made it. I can just sit back and relax, go to church once a week or whatever, and you sort of become stagnant in your spiritual growth, And I think as long as you're making strides, moving forward with that momentum, it's a good thing. Even if you're in an area I might disagree with right now, if you're still making that progression, you're learning things, and we're all on our journey in different spots. So that's the main thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how you are with the SRT. I mean, when I first went in and she got off the pendulum first time, I was scared. I thought, okay, if I didn't have, because I was in a book group at the time, a meetup here in Houston, if I didn't have two people from that book group that I kind of trusted send me there, I'd be like, because I was freaked out enough. If I just went in randomly and she gets out this pendulum and started doing, I immediately thought witchcraft, black magic. What do you
Yeah.
do to me and my whole lineage? But I found out from doing the spiritual response therapy, we have this negative energy. I had to clear all this negative energy towards pendulums, towards spiritual response therapy, towards all kinds of stuff, so I could be open. Hypnotism. I have.
Oh yeah, that's a big one for me, or it was.
Yeah, because it was because of being killed. If people don't believe in other lifetimes, I found out it's because of being killed in other lifetimes for doing this kind of work or being harmed, that, I shut down. A lot of people shut down to certain things. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, once I see that and I've seen enough visions of that, I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right, I can let it go now, you know?
Yeah, I've had that same response, and I've often thought that on here. I'm like, you know what? If this was like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, um, in fact, the more you go back, the more things I've done that I would have been burned at the stake for, just things I've said.
Yeah.
So things have changed quite a bit now, and we can speak more openly and freely. Even if it is some shadow banning and going on some of the other things people talk, it's better than getting burned at the stake or fed to lions, right?
Yeah, no kidding. It doesn't matter if you run into someone from a church or that you used to go to church with. They're like, what are you doing now? Well, I'm talking about all this stuff online. They're like, they roll their eyes. It's like, who cares,
That is funny. Yeah, run into somebody at the grocery store or something from the old life or whatever. But I would be more hesitant with the pendulum thing, except I've used it before. I had somebody, I watched a video a long time ago, and it was like, you can use anything. And I got something out and I was like, oh my gosh, it really works. This is crazy, I was really trying to keep it as still as possible, and it would start moving and giving me answers and stuff. I don't like do it all the time, but I've done it enough to know that it's a very real thing. Somehow it works, and I don't know if it's your higher self making you sway a little bit, or I'm a real technical person, so I'm like, how's this working? What's the secret in this? So I know it works. I just don't know how it works. Like a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's supposed to be your subconscious mind or your higher self or your subconscious is causing these little tiny jerks in your hand to make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, like microscopic movements that you can't see.
I
Yeah,
like where you even really see it. So,
that's awesome. Well, what do you have going? Do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about? Any events or anything?
no, I'm going to start doing a meditation probably every other week, because I'll probably do one that's more of a European time zone and one more of a US time zone.
Oh, live?
Yeah, live
Oh, okay.
meditation. So, because I've got a couple people over in the Europe area, so they're like seven, or let's see, one lady, I'll have a session with her at 2 tomorrow, but that's her 9, so about 7 hours later there. So I'm gonna do that like twice a month, I guess every other week for each one. So, and that's about it. I want to start making more YouTube videos, like do some SRT online so people can see what it's like. So,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah.
Yeah, we have Nicola. She's in Australia, and she's like already into tomorrow. So that's amazing, the time zone thing. And then yeah, I think it's 7 hours for me. Well, you're Central Time too,
I'm
right?
simple like you. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like 7 hours ahead. So it's getting to be what, like 8 or 9 at night or something.
Yeah.
So let me see. I've got your links below. I've got your Facebook, angiedollar.com, and your YouTube channel. So they can subscribe to that. I also have Allison Coe's YouTube channel, if like everybody knows her, I think anyway. But and also, if you're interested in learning BQH, I've got a link down there where you can save money on doing that as well. So when is your first group meditation?
I'm gonna do it next week.
Next week?
Wednesday, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll do the US one next week. And as long as I can because I made a change where I'm going to have a friend do some healing with me at the end, some SRT healing for the collective at the end after the meditation. So that'll be cool.
Okay. So are you going to announce it on angiedollar.com, or I guess if they subscribe, they'll get a notification?
Yeah, if they subscribe, or I'll announce it on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I need to get better about Facebook because it's a great tool, but I have everything set to automatically like post for me. Like I just went live and stuff, but it's like an automatic thing. I don't really get on there very much because I notice like I'll lose an hour of time. Like, where did that hour go? So I tend not to go on there because of that. Like
I don't go on there much. I just got kicked out of a group because I posted I'm going to do free meditation because you're not supposed to look for business or whatever on there. I'm like, it's a free meditation. It's to help the world. It's like to help clear the world. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap this one up. We're just about at the top of the hour. I do appreciate you coming on, and we'll have you back in the future again.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, and I hope to see you guys again in person too.
Yeah, definitely going to do something. Try to do the ESETI thing though, because I think a lot of people are going to make it to that one.
We may be in Hawaii. It was funny. I was online, and one lady was telling me to come to Denmark. She wants to open a healing center. At the same time, someone was online seeing that, and she said, "You should come with me to Paris first. I'm going to rent a house, and we'll go to Denmark." And my twin flame called me at the same time and said, "I'm going to be in Hawaii for maybe 3 to 6 months. I figured we'd just live here." I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting this like all at once. I'm like online and I'm hearing this. So we may be in Hawaii, which would be cool,
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I've been kind of feeling Hawaii too.
Yeah.
Since I talked to Top Medina. He was out there. And Lisa Transcendence, is that her name? She's out there, Brown.
Is Todd still there?
I don't know. Last time I talked to him when I was on his program, but then he said he was doing some more traveling. So I don't know if he came back to the States, but I don't know. But that would be cool. As long as the volcanoes have died down or whatever, that would be kind of cool to go over there.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's beautiful. It's like paradise.
It's beautiful. I was there, I guess, a couple months ago with him on his last work trip, and I lived there for 2 years.
Oh, you did? How is it living there?
It's, I was really young. I was in the military, and I got kind of bored with it because I grew up in South Florida where it's like, oh, beach, like, oh, go to the beach again. But now at this age where my daughter's grown and it would be just Bryce and I mostly, I mean, it's just a different stage in our life. I'd be like, man, this is cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I could just stay there forever. I'd probably go there and say, I'm not coming home. You can go home. I'm going to find some way to stay.
Yeah. Well, if you are in the States, I know Bryce would really be down for the sightings and contact.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be cool.
That would be cool. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody in the chat. Lots of love, light to all of you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one, Angie.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.